woman from a small town in Mexico. I work in a local store and live with my family. I always dreamt of speaking English. It's like a magical language to me, opening doors to new opportunities and adventures. One day, I decided to take action. I went to the community center where they offer English classes for beginners. That's where I met Mrs. Smith, my English teacher. "Hello, I'm Mrs. Smith," she said with a warm smile. "What's your name?" "I'm Elena," I replied shyly. "I'm so glad you're here to learn English," Mrs. Smith said encouragingly. "It's a wonderful language that can change your life." I felt excited and nervous at the same time. Learning English seemed like a big challenge, but I was determined to succeed. I had many reasons for wanting to learn English. One of the main reasons was my dream of traveling to the United States. I wanted to explore new places, meet new people, and experience different cultures. English would be my key to making this dream come true. Another reason was my job at the local store. We often had tourists visiting from English-speaking countries, and I struggled to communicate with them. I felt frustrated and embarrassed when I couldn't understand or respond to their questions. However, my biggest motivation came from within. I wanted to prove to myself and to others that I could learn a new language. I wanted to break free from my comfort zone and challenge myself to become better. But it wasn't easy. I faced many challenges in my journey to learn English. One of the biggest challenges was my lack of confidence. I often doubted my ability to learn and speak the language fluently. I worried about making mistakes and sounding foolish. Communication was another hurdle. English pronunciation was difficult for me, and I struggled to understand native speakers. I felt lost in conversations and often had to ask people to repeat themselves. Despite these challenges, I refused to give up. With determination and perseverance, I continued attending classes with Mrs. Smith, practicing every day and pushing myself to improve. One sunny afternoon, as I walked into the community center for my English class, I saw a familiar face. It was Mrs. Smith, my English teacher. Her warm smile greeted me as I entered the classroom. "Hello, Elena," she exclaimed. "I'm so glad to see you again." I returned her smile nervously. "Hi, Mrs. Smith." As the class began, Mrs. Smith introduced herself to the new students and then turned to me. "Elena, would you like to share why you're learning English?" I hesitated for a moment, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. Finally, I spoke up. "I want to learn English because I dream of traveling and meeting new people. It's important for my job, too, to communicate with tourists." Mrs. Smith nodded, her eyes showing understanding. "That's wonderful, Elena. Learning English will open up so many opportunities for you." After the class, I approached Mrs. Smith with a shy request. Mrs. Smith, could you please teach me how to speak English? Her eyes lit up with kindness. Of course, Elena. I'm here to help you learn and improve. Let's schedule some extra practice sessions together. I felt a surge of gratitude and determination. With Mrs. Smith's guidance, I knew I could achieve my goal of speaking English fluently. As Mrs. Smith and I started our extra practice sessions, our relationship began to grow stronger.